Deep in the heart of Europe lies the Ardennes Forest, a land shrouded in shadow and steeped in blood. Stretching across Belgium and spilling into Luxembourg, France, and Germany, this ancient woodland has borne witness to centuries of history, its towering trees hiding secrets as old as time itself. A place of haunting beauty, the Ardennes served as a sanctuary, a battleground, and a realm where myth and reality intertwine. The roots of the Ardennes stretch deep, not just into the earth, but into legend as well. In ancient times, it was believed to be the domain of Ardennes, the Celtic goddess of the hunt, whose name is still whispered through the forest. She was said to roam these woods, riding a wild boar, her presence both feared and revered by those who dared enter her realm. Druids once gathered in the groves of the Ardennes, performing rituals beneath the gnarled branches of ancient oaks. The forest was alive to them, not just a place, but a being, watching, waiting. As Christianity spread, the Ardennes became a place of retreat for hermits and mystics, their lives intertwined with the sacred and the supernatural. Yet even as the holy legions grew, legends of spirits, witches, and werewolves persisted, blending the sacred with the sinister. Even today, the Ardennes Forest remains cloaked in folklore, its dense underbrush a canvas for ghost stories and whispered tales of the uncanny. But if the Ardennes was a sanctuary for some, it was a crucible of death for others. For centuries, its strategic location made it a highway of conquest. Roman legions marched through its thick canopies, pushing the frontiers of empire ever further. In the early medieval era, the forest became a refuge for the defeated, a hiding place for the broken armies of fallen kings. The Ardennes' most defining military chapters, however, were written during the 20th century. In World War I, the forest became a natural barrier between entrenched armies, its dense growth swallowing soldiers and artillery alike. But it was in World War II that the Ardennes earned its most infamous epithet, the graveyard of hope. In December 1944, as winter's icy grip choked the land, the German army launched a desperate counteroffensive. Known as the Battle of the Bulge, it was a gamble of staggering proportions. Nazi forces surged through the Ardennes, their tanks and troops using the forest's labyrinthine path to launch a surprise attack on the Allied front. The Ardennes had become a frozen hell. Soldiers fought amid snow-covered trees, their breath forming clouds that mingled with the smoke of battle. The forest seemed to conspire against both sides, its treacherous terrain and bitter cold testing the limits of human endurance. The Battle of the Bulge left behind a legacy of shattered lives and a forest littered with the echoes of war. Even now, remnants of that brutal winter, rusting tanks, scattered shells, unmarked graves, can be found among the undergrowth. Today, the Ardennes Forest stands as a monument to its turbulent past. Its rolling hills and dense thickets are no longer stained by the blood of soldiers, but alive with the soft voices of hikers and those who visit its memorials. But there's an unease that lingers, a sense that the forest knows something that it just won't tell, something that perhaps is still going on. Locals speak of spectral soldiers still wandering its paths, of ghostly cries carried on the wind. In its silent glades and shadowed ravines, the forest holds its secrets close, a reminder that this is not just a place, but a living witness to the sweep of history. Deep in the heart of this forest, this vast and ancient wilderness, stands a castle that exists as much in myth as in reality. Known formally as Chateau des Amerois, the structure has earned a far darker moniker among those who dare speak of it. They call it the Castle of the Mothers of Darkness. Reaching the castle is not merely a physical journey, but a psychological and spiritual ordeal. Travelers who venture too close to the castle often report an unshakable sense of being watched. The very air here seems to shift, heavy with anticipation and warning. The land around the castle is an area Roman soldiers once described as cursed, its dense foliage hiding not just enemies, but apparitions and omens. In medieval times, stories abounded of strange lights and spectral figures moving between the trees. Even today, hikers recount hearing voices on the wind, whispers in languages they cannot recognize, and the sudden and unnatural silence that will fall as if the forest itself has stopped. Even from a distance, the castle looms like a phantom, its spires jagged against the shifting mist. Time has dulled the grandeur of its stonework, and yet it remains steadfast, imposing, defying the passage of years. For generations, locals have spoken of this castle with a mixture of reverence and dread, their account interwoven with tales of occult power, unseen rituals, and an order of mysterious women said to hold sway over the invisible forces that shape the world. For those who do near the castle gates, the journey does not end with relief, but with a deeper sense of unease. The gates stand tall and rusted, their ironwork seeming to pulse with a life of its own. Tripwires, hidden cameras, and alarms thwart the efforts of anyone who tries to come inside. For beyond lies one of the most truly mysterious places on earth. The story of Chateau des Amerois begins with its construction in 1877, after a fire decimated the original structure here. The new home was commissioned by Prince Philippe of Belgium. It was intended to be a retreat, a happy place where the prince and his peers could escape the noise of courtly life and indulge in the luxuries of hunting, feasting, and contemplation in a beautiful natural setting. Designed in the Gothic Revival style, the chateau boasted grand halls, luxurious chambers, and a chapel that became its spiritual heart. Though the castle thrived as a noble estate for decades, it began to wane in prominence after World War I. By the mid-20th century, the once bustling halls had fallen silent. Ownership shifted hands, and the chateau became an enigmatic relic, closed to the public and cloaked in secrecy. It was during this period of obscurity that the Chateau d'Amerois began to attract a darker reputation. Rumors began to spread, first through the surrounding villages, then through Belgium and Europe and the world, of a secretive order known as the Mothers of Darkness, a coven of witches who allegedly operated at the highest levels of power, unseen yet omnipresent. Unlike political leaders or religious figures who exert influence in the public sphere, the mothers were said to control events from shadows. According to these tales, the castle served, and perhaps still serves, as their sanctuary, a site of initiation, of ritual and counsel. These women are believed to be the custodians of esoteric knowledge passed down through centuries, knowledge that predates organized religion and touches on the foundational mysteries of creation, life, and death. Beneath the castle, it is said, lies a labyrinth of chambers and tunnels, their walls etched with symbols too ancient to decode. Here, the mothers perform rituals meant to connect them with forces beyond human comprehension. Some accounts speak of invocation to summon spiritual entities or to gain insight into the workings of the universe. Others describe ceremonies of an even more sinister nature, involving blood offerings and acts meant to transgress the boundaries of natural law and morality. The castle's ominous reputation reached new heights in the 1990s, during a time of scandal and upheaval in Belgium, when the country was gripped by the horrific crimes of Marc Dutroux, a serial child trafficker, torturer, and murderer whose actions exposed systemic failures in law enforcement and governance. The case gave rise to widespread suspicions of a larger satanic pedophile network involving elite figures, a narrative that dovetailed neatly with the existing legends of Chateau d'Amerois. After Dutroux's arrest and the revelation of the abominable network thriving in secrecy across Belgium and perhaps the world, survivors of alleged ritual abuse began to come forward, their accounts horrific yet difficult to verify. Some described ceremonies involving cloaked figures, the sacrifice of children, and blasphemous rites performed in remote European castles and estates, including the interior chapel of the Chateau des Amerois. In more recent years, some have claimed that the Mothers of Darkness is the location where the elites have held the infamous hunting parties of legend, hunting trafficked children for sport, mimicking the famous story, The Most Dangerous Game. These stories, though unsubstantiated, gained traction among conspiracy theorists and further cemented the chateau's reputation as a place of dark power. Now, some say that dark power of the mothers has been spoken of very publicly indeed, but in a diabolically veiled fashion. The occasion and the speaker might well surprise you, or perhaps not. It began as a beacon of hope, or so it seemed. In his inaugural address in 1989, President George H.W. Bush painted a vision of a nation alight with human kindness, where charitable acts became tiny flames illuminating the darkness. 1,000 points of light, he called it, conjuring an image of unity and purpose. But to those who dared to look beyond the polished veneer, the phrase rang with deeper, darker chords. For occultists, the concept of the point of light reaches far beyond mere rhetoric, diving into the esoteric depths of secret societies. Freemasonry, the Illuminati, and other arcane traditions have long revered light as a symbol of enlightenment, yes, but also of domination. To these hidden architects of power, the 1,000 points represent the many hands working in the shadows, agents of influence who shape society in ways unseen by the masses. They are stars in an inverted constellation, forming a network of influence that transcends governments, faiths, and borders. And it's not, they say, just an intellectual construct, not just a symbol. For some say that inside the Mothers of Darkness cask, 1,000 actual lights twinkle in one of the ritual chambers, a physical representation of the hidden worldwide network of occult power and domination. So, are the 1,000 points of light a benign vision of goodwill or an esoteric manifesto for control? Are the Mothers of Darkness just a myth, or do they indeed weave their rituals in secret chambers even now? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the space between the light and the darkness, where reality blurs and legend begins. Dare we look closer, perhaps into the deepest interiors of the Chateau des Amerois? For it is here we may just find the spaces where the legends come home. The rumored Hall of Mirrors at Amerois is said to be one of the most enigmatic features of the fabled structure. Although the chateau itself is shrouded in secrecy, tales surrounding this particular hall have grown into an intricate web of legend, blending architectural marvel with supernatural intrigue, though no evidence can be found to verify the existence of such a room here. Those who seek to quash the myths of Amerois say there is no such place. There is no such hall. You must be thinking, they say, of the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. And yet others swear they have not only seen the room at Amerois, but have been part of dark rituals held in it. The Hall of Mirrors, according to rumors, is a long corridor lined with towering, gilded mirrors that stretch from floor to ceiling. It is said that this grand hallway was designed not merely for opulence, but for a deeper, more enigmatic purpose. The mirrors are believed to face one another in such a way that they create an infinite regression of reflections, a visual echo that gives the illusion of unending space. This effect, eerie and disorienting, has led to speculation that the hall serves as more than an aesthetic marvel. It might be a portal to another world, a liminal space where the boundaries between worlds blur. Folklore holds that the Hall of Mirrors plays a central role in the esoteric rituals of the so-called Mothers of Darkness. According to these accounts, the mirrors are thought to amplify energies or channel spiritual forces. Participants in these ceremonies, it is said, stand before the mirrors to commune with unseen entities, to seek visions, or to bind intentions to the reflections that stretch into eternity. The hall's mirrors are also rumored to bear cryptic engravings, arcane symbols etched so finely into the glass that they can only be seen under specific conditions, such as moonlight or candlelight. Some claim these symbols are keys to unlocking hidden knowledge or to summoning forces beyond human understanding. While no verified architectural plans of Chateau des Amerois are publicly available, the Hall of Mirrors is often described as an intentional blend of Gothic and Baroque elements designed to evoke both reverence and unease. The interplay of light and shadow in the space, coupled with the endless reflection, is said to create a sense of dislocation, one that reportedly leaves visitors questioning what is real and what is illusion. Some say that the mirrors in the hall are also haunted, each one trapping the spirits of those who have looked too deeply into their reflections, and those who have been killed in this room, the sacrifices of unknown and abominable rituals. As with much of the lore surrounding the chateau, the Hall of Mirrors exists in a space between fact and fiction, whether a masterpiece of design, a stage for arcane rituals, or simply the product of imagination. The Hall of Mirrors endures as a symbol of Amerois' mysterious allure, a place where reality itself seems to shimmer, refract, and dissolve. Among the many enigmatic elements of Chateau d'Amerois, none exert a gravitational pull quite like that of the mythical Black Madonna. Reported to reside in the castle's secluded inner chapel, the statue is not only said to be a physical artifact of religious significance, but also the centerpiece of the myths that swirl around the so-called Mothers of Darkness. The presence of the Madonna elevates the castle's mystique, turning what might otherwise be a forgotten relic of aristocratic grandeur into a charged symbol of spiritual and esoteric power. Black Madonnas are not unique to Amerois. Across Europe, such statues have been revered for their perceived otherworldly meaning. Many historians trace the origins of these depictions to pre-Christian fertility goddesses whose imagery was assimilated into Christian iconography. Others suggest that their dark appearances may be due to centuries of exposure to candle soot by worshippers, or by artistic interpretations that emphasized the Blessed Mother Mary's universality, transcending race and culture. In the chapel of Chateau d'Amerois, the Black Madonna takes on a much more specific aura. The statue is said to stand at the heart of a space charged with esoteric energy. The chapel itself, described as an architectural marvel, its Gothic flourishes are imbued with a sense of foreboding. Carvings of vines, flowers, and celestial symbols are said to decorate its walls, but on closer inspection, reveal hidden demonic sigils and cryptic inscriptions. Accounts from conspiracy theorists and alleged survivors of ritual abuse place the Black Madonna of Amerois at the center of the ceremonies purportedly conducted by the Mothers of Darkness. The statue, they claim, is no longer an object of Christian devotion installed as part of the builder's sacred space, but a blasphemous goddess and spiritual conduit, a focal point for dark rituals meant to invoke powers beyond human comprehension and far from godly. Descriptions of these ceremonies held in the chapel are chilling, though unverifiable. Under the dim glow of candlelight, they say, the chapel is said to transform into a theater of the arcane. Chanting fills the air, blending ancient languages and tones designed to manipulate unseen energies. Participants, cloaked and veiled, kneel before the Black Madonna, their offerings, sometimes symbolic, sometimes corporeal, laid at her feet. Theories diverge as to the nature of these rituals. Some suggest they are intended to channel divine wisdom or prophetic visions, aligning the participants with cosmic forces. Others take an even darker view, proposing that the rituals are meant to summon infernal entities or bind spiritual power to the will of the Mothers of Darkness. Still others believe the Black Madonna of Amerois has witnessed time and time again the ritual sacrifice of children. To believers in the castle's sinister reputation, she is no longer the representative of a saintly figure, but a vessel for ancient power, a link between the visible world and realms stirring in darkness. Whether regarded with reverence or suspicion, the Black Madonna remains the beating heart of the myths surrounding the Chateau des Amerois. Her presence in the chapel invites questions that linger unanswered. Was she brought here by the noble family as a gesture of faith, or was her placement later and deliberate, intended to consecrate the site for purposes far older and far darker than those of Christianity? For now, the Black Madonna of Amerois remains shrouded in mystery, her secrets locked behind the castle's imposing tripwired gates. Today, the Chateau des Amerois remains inaccessible to the public, its gates locked, its grounds patrolled. To some, the castle is a place of unimaginable horror, a nexus of occult power and corruption. To others, it is a monument to the unknown, a reminder of humanity's enduring fascination with the mysteries of power and belief. The owners have made no statements about the rumors of Amerois, leaving the castle's secrets intact. Yet its legends persist, growing with each retelling, like this one. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Ghost Lorist. I'm Ursula Bielski, and I invite you to head over to the world of the supernatural for a chat about the Chateau des Amerois from a Catholic perspective, where we'll look more at the detailed history of the castle's building, of its descent into conspiracy theory, and of its connections to the arrest of Marc Dutroux in the 1990s and to the coming forth of many who have attested to have been victimized at the castle. We'll also look particularly at the story of the reputed Black Madonna at the chapel at Amerois and to some of the other details that have a Catholic dimension to them. So I invite you again to check the link in the description, and you can head on over to the episode of Uncanny Catholic, where we'll talk about the Mothers of Darkness Castle in the Ardennes Forest. Thanks so much for being here. It means so much to me that you enjoy my work, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you can join us again next time.